being a copycat. All right. So the leaders of Israel will ask this wicked, demon-possessed man, the false prophet, the same question. They're going to ask him, who are you? Or you, after reading the above quote, what do you believe the false prophet's response is going to be? The false prophet will respond, I am Elijah. Once he says that, he sets the stage for the Antichrist. So when he, as Elijah, points to the Antichrist, the Jewish people are going to fall in line. Now, when you go now, all right, I want to show you something. Let's go and look at some of the things that Elijah did. Now, Elijah called down fire from heaven, right? And Elijah also stopped it from raining. That's going to be a lot of drought and stuff happening during the tribulation. Watch. So let's go look at the two witnesses. Oh, the two witnesses is in chapter 11, by the way. Now watch. So Elijah comes back, and Elijah is one of these prophets that God says that he gives power to his two witnesses. So these are two prophets that God sends back. We know for a fact Elijah is one of these prophets. Now look at what happens. Okay? These two prophets are going to have power to do something. They're going to have power to shut heaven. What does that mean? That means there be no rain. Who did that in the Old Testament? Elijah did that. He did it during the days of Ahab the king. He stopped it from raining for how long? How long? That's in the Old Testament, friends. Elijah stopped it from raining in the Old Testament for 3.5 years. See, why? So what? You're not getting it. In the Great Tribulation, remember, the Great Tribulation is broken up. I mean, the tribulation is broken up into 3.5 years segments. When these prophets show up in the second half, these guys are going to show up. So this is the first and this is the second, right? And the total is 7 years. When the two prophets show up in the second half, what's going to happen? It won't rain at all. It won't rain one single day. You say, how can that be? Friend, you're missing the point. Go look at all the plagues that came before this. They're going to pray and prophesy that there won't be rain. And Elijah's going to do the exact same thing he did in the Old Testament. He's going to stop it from raining for as long as he's on the earth. Then the second thing that's going to happen, look, is they're going to have the power over waters to turn the waters to blood. Moses did that. Elijah didn't do that. And to strike the earth with all plagues as often as they want. Now, there was a second thing that Elijah did when he fought with well, not physically fight, but he had a battle with the false prophets of Baal. What did he do? He called down fire from heaven. And fire came from heaven. The false prophet is going to do the exact same thing. Going to call down fire from heaven. That's why he's going to be able to claim that he is Elijah. See, the Jews are going to know that. So let's go look at what he did. Now you see what kind of stuff that happens, right? Now the beast that comes out of the bottomless pit is going to make war against them and overcome them and kill them. That is the Antichrist. Not the false prophet, because the false prophet isn't a man of war. The Antichrist is. But only after these prophets finish their business. And when we do a study on the book of Revelation, I'll take you through all this in more depth. Now, let's go look at chapter 13, and let's see something. Watch about this false prophet. Look at what he does. One of the signs that Elijah did, for those that don't know, it's over in the book of First Kings. I don't have time to go there today, but over in the book of First Kings, Elijah called down fire from heaven. This false prophet is going to claim to be Elijah. Okay, he's going to have some demonic powers to do some stuff. Watch. He performs great signs. One of the signs is he's going to deal with rain. How is he going to do it? He's going to claim that it's him who's stopping it from raining and not one of the prophets. That's the same thing that the false prophets over in Egypt did to prove to Pharaoh that they had the same kind of power that Moses had. So he's going to take claim and credit for that miracle that God is doing. So that he makes fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. Who did that? Elijah did that. So when he does that, he's going to come. That's going to confirm to the Jews that he is Elijah. That's how he's going to deceive them, friends. And he deceives, listen, right here, those, every single person. Now this is going to be live, friend, on TV. Everybody's going to see this man do it. Who dwell on the earth by those signs which he was granted to do in the sight of the beast. You see, that's what happens. And because he's the religious leader and all the religions come together, he's going to be the leader, not of the woman that's going to be the false church, but he's going to be pent up as the most religious guy, the top of all the religious people, not the false church. Okay, it's going to be another group because eventually these two destroy that false church. All right, so that's what this false prophet is going to do. Now let's go wrap this up, and we're going to have to finish it another day. Okay, so he's going to come in. He's going to claim that he's Elijah. So what is the name of the false prophet? What's his real name? See, how do you know that? That's the only name it can be. Based on the scripture. If you start putting everything together, like we said, like I showed you from the book, he has no choice but to claim that he's Elijah, or the Jews won't believe him. To perform similar miracle signs and lying wonders to Elijah to prove his claim. After convincing the Jews of his stolen valor and false identity, the false prophet would then claim that the beast is the Christ, who happens to be God. You see, he's got to win the trust first. The Antichrist is not going to be able to convince the Jews, friends. The reason why he won't be able to convince the Jews is because he will not be a Jew. So how do you know that? Because I went through that already with you earlier. Go back and look at that series on the Antichrist. But this guy here, he will be a Jew. Then he will come up with this brilliant plan to erect an image of the beast in God's temple and force everyone to worship it, then enforce an allegiance. He requires everyone to get a mark on their foreheads and on their right hand. All right. So before we get into that, I'm gonna stop right here, and we'll come back and get into the mark and all that stuff because there's some things that I want to get into, and it's gonna take us some time to walk through it. So, friends, listen. I'm amazed. I'm really amazed that all this stuff is written in the book, and it's still going to happen exactly how God said. I'm totally blown away by it because God says it in advance, and people still going to fall for the deception of these people. Now, let me say this. If I was an unbeliever, still in my sin before God saved me, I would believe the lie too. I'm no better than the rest of them, friends. I believed the lies before God saved me. It wasn't until He gave me life, opened my eyes to hear and see the truth of His word, that I became aware. That's it. I'm no better than anybody else. However, now that we know what the word of God said, now that we know the truth, it is our job to proclaim this gospel, the truth of what God said, to all mankind so that they can be saved. So join me, friends. I don't want no money. No, that's not what I'm talking about. So don't think no, forget that. I don't need your money. I'm talking about helping me spread this word by you testifying and witnessing to your family and friends. God put you right where you are. Yeah, He did that. Kevin, you don't know where I am. It doesn't matter where you are. You're there. And if you're a believer, God put you there. He put you there so that you can be a witness to people in your life that nobody else is going to get to. God put you there for you to reach them with the gospel. So that's what I'm asking help for. I'm not asking, I don't care about your money, man. I don't need that. What I need is all of us to pray for our loved ones, to pray for our nations, to pray for our leaders. And I only want to pray to them first for their salvation, leaders and all these people, so that we can be free to preach the gospel. That's it. Because there's coming a day where that's going to be taken away. And during the tribulation, people are going to get their heads chopped off for preaching the gospel. Today, you and I, we can do what we're doing right here, and nobody's going to come and chop my head off. So let's get busy doing what God said and teach and preach this word. Help me do that. Okay, friends, till next time, take care.